what if we start this show in 3, 2, 1, and that was the corniest way to start the freaking show.
Oh my god!
What's up, people? What's up, party people? It is Kevin Pillow, the voice of reason at Voice of Reason 23. I want to steal the thunder for a second because usually the guy over here goes first. He is J.R. Cabacungan, the Dark King, at also not J.R. Comics 42. But we're getting right into it because we're watching What If. We're going to talk about it, break it down, what we liked, what we saw, what we didn't like, what they need to work on for season 2, because I think season 1's in the can. But yeah, we're going to talk about What If. Before we get things going, we have it queued up on Disney Plus. So if you're going to join us, have it ready. I think it's right at the Disney Plus logo. We'll start up here in just a second. But JR, the cat's out of the bag. This show has been out for more than 36 hours.
Yeah.
And you literally just watched it about an hour and a half ago. So what'd you think?
It was good. I wanted to see. One, I didn't have really high expectations to begin with, and I think that's what everyone should have going in, just see what it is, because it's a bunch of what if stuff. It's a bunch of causal plausibility. The one thing that I did agree on, and I'm so freaking glad they touched upon, is the realm of infinities, right? Because that's the thing. They want to make it known that in canon, like when you're talking about multiple timelines, we're talking about infinite timelines, and I don't understand that people don't want to bring math into this shit, but like, what is infinity? It's infinity. It's an endless. There's no end. There's logistically a non-ending number, and in this case of realities.
Yeah.
And so this was a great point to hammer home, because I've seen a lot of reactions. I've seen a lot of people that have talked about, okay, what is then the mainline MCU, right?
Yeah.
Is it just these? Is it 4 or 5 different realities? Is it 7 or 8? Or is there a certain number effect to it? Right now, homie, it is now infinity.
It is now.
It is now infinity. If anything that could have happened, did happen, will happen again, or hasn't happened yet, or will never happen at all, which is a great way to look at this series. Because everything just out of the bag, man. When it started off, right, the small simple decisions, right, specifically when I even had to go back to the first freaking Captain America movie, where when they were talking about when Peggy and Steve were there at the scene, right, when he's about to go take the serum, I totally forgot that she went to a booth.
It's the small things like that. So
I totally forgot about that.
Let's kickstart this pig. I've hit play on our show here. We get the Marvel Studios countdown. Oddly, you talk about the small things. I was looking forward to see what they were going to do with the Marvel Studios. I was actually hoping they completely animated all of the graphics, so to speak, in the Marvel Marvel Studios logo, but they didn't. You get these traditional live action Marvel Studios MCU kind of but then
banner and all
then
that.
they kind of comic booked it up. Then they kind of went animation. So JR, as we're getting the opening credits, first time we've seen this opening credits, no opening scene like a teaser or something like that. We go right into graphics, and we do get to see animated versions of our heroes from the last 10 plus years, including the much villainized Scarlett Johansson's version of Black Widow. You being the resident anime fan, this is a very different style of animation. I know it's been used, but what did you think of this style? This almost like someone had called it a live action anime. Like
it's technically called cell shaded animation, where cell shaded animation, you see that actually if you ever play like the Borderlands video games.
I've seen pictures. I never played it. No.
It's very similar to that, but the art style is so strikingly different in comparison to What If. While What If is trying to do a little bit more cartoony, but more comic book oriented and semi-real life, right? They're trying to resemble very much their actual actor counterparts, except for, I guess in this case, Red Skull and Steve too, right?
Steve was changed slightly.
Yeah,
Looking at the actor who played the
voice
voice
actor.
of young
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah.
and you have to understand too, though, yes, Chris Evans did play young Steve in the movie.
Mm.
Josh Keaton, which if you, yes, he does kind of look like
Yeah,
this Steve
which
Rogers.
is fine because like you also gotta like if you have any resemblance towards actual freaking Chris Evans, you got to pay the man,
You got to pay
right?
the
For
man.
it. Yeah, and so that's another loophole that not loophole, but that's another thing that in animation people tend to do. So that's why even though Iron Man is in other cartoons, they're not paying RDJ for every Iron Man appearance,
Yeah.
right? So
Um,
that's one of the things. Overall, the
with
cell shaded stuff looks really good for me. It looked really
okay, I
really
was going to
good.
ask you because I said you are always been our animation aficionado, and so I
Yeah.
wanted to get your opinion on this. Now, you mentioned JR that all it takes is one little thing, and it can create an infinite branch of possibilities. And we see
Yep.
this that you mentioned. Let me pause it just for a second. So pause for a second. You mentioned that, and I say in this movie, what we saw, or in the show, what we saw was um, Peggy's choice to be by her man's side. She has already, like we saw in the movie, Peggy almost starts to fall for Steve on the cab ride over
Yeah.
to the Project Rebirth facility. And when he says, calls her a dame, and he goes, I don't know how to talk to a woman, this longest conversation I've had. And she
Mm.
kind of smirks, like, this he's real. Obviously that was tested later when he quote cheats on her, making out with the blondie in the corner.
Natalie
But
Dormer.
Natalie
Natalie
Dormer,
Dormer,
I can never
my
remember her name.
my forever
I know
crush.
you're
Yes.
her woman crush Wednesday.
Yep.
But yeah, when she just decides, no, I'm gonna stand by your man. Sorry, I did sing. I know JR's like, don't ever do that again. When she decided to
Cut the,
stand by her
cut the tape.
man,
Cut the tape.
she alters
Yeah.
it, and Uatu says that, and by the way, Jeffrey Wright, perfect
Great choice. Great choice.
for the
Yeah.
Watcher. He has
Mm.
he has a career in this business, I believe.
Oh.
So restart. We now see a
Yeah.
branch in reality. What happens? Well, everybody's out of the booth, including the Hydra uh, mole, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we see him blow up the
Facility.
facility. And who takes the bullet? Okay, in the show, it's Dr. Erskine.
Mm.
Though we don't, no body, no death. We don't see him die,
Yeah.
but
Also, Ailey Jones' character. I forgot his name.
uh,
The the high resigning not captain, but he was colonel, I think.
yeah. So that's what I've noticed is though we didn't see him in the movie, Bradley
Mm.
Whitford, Colonel John Flynn, who didn't make an appearance until the Agent Carter one shot,
Yeah.
where he played Agent Flynn, one of the heads of the SSR kind of field office. He is now the what's his name? The actor. He's got the three names.
Ailey Jones.
Jamie Tommy Lee
Jamie
Jones.
Lee.
Sorry,
Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, Tommy Lee
The
Jones.
Tommy Lee
I
Jones
said
character
Ailey
is the one who
Jones.
takes the bullet.
Yikes.
Obviously, in the movie, it was Stanley Tucci. He's Dr.
Jones.
Erskine.
Yeah.
Dr. Erskine, we don't see him after the explosion. It's presumed he's dead, but he is not, quote, killed by the assassin's bullet. And now we see, Steve also, that was a shocker that Steve Rogers takes a gut shot. Great to see Dominic Cooper, fabulous actor, come back to voice Howard Stark.
He was Preacher in an AMC. He was the
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I forgot. The show AMC show was called Preacher, and even though they did take a lot of different turns with that, he was great in that show. Dominic Cooper's awesome. So glad to see him back. Glad to see him play a freaking 1940s like genius guy, but like the type of like accent that he had and the type of like zaniness that in that character, I adored. I love that about him.
I love the fact that he came and he nailed the portrayal of what Howard Stark was supposed to be, and that was a twist on Howard Hughes, the famed inventor of kind of a same ilk, playboy philanthropist, invent, yeah, it was funny was I didn't quite notice the difference between Agent Carter pre super soldier and after, but I guess she is a little bit more muscular, but she's
Yeah.
taller, just like
Yeah.
they say. When they ask, hey Steve, how do you feel? I feel taller. So that was the one thing, is like they kind of pressed it, but they didn't make her very, they still kept her very smooth, very feminine.
Yeah.
This but they did kind of, like I said, make her a little bit more Amazonian tall.
Mhm.
And yeah, she had some broad shoulders, but I thought that
Yeah.
they didn't overdo
They
it. But
yeah. I felt like she was very much in my gym terms. I felt like she was a pro, like a IFBB pro. I think IFPP pro, like
I know exactly what you
one
mean.
of those. Yeah, it's very much those. A lot of the taller women too, that they go
Yeah.
out and they're pros for bodybuilding. They go out to do contests. Like for me, I think that she kind of fit that ilk in a certain
Yeah.
essence. But like, yeah, cool. She's still Peggy.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. She's still Peggy, but she has superpowers. Or she's a super soldier. So
We do
it
get
very much transitions that.
we do get to
But
see the invasion of Norway.
yeah.
Funny thing is, I never noticed this before. The town in Norway that that Red Skull invades to find the Tesseract, it's Tonsberg, in Norway, is the original battle between the Frost Giants
Oh,
and
that's
the
right.
Asgardians that Odin
That's right. First sent
basically
out.
lays the smackdown on their candy ass. That happens in Tonsberg, Norway. Also, in like I said, in the Captain America First Avenger film, it is where Red Skull goes to get the Tesseract, and also, and I didn't catch this before, it is where New Asgard is in Avengers Endgame. It is where the Asgardian refugees set up camp
Right.
on Earth,
Yeah.
instead of New Asgard is in the same town. So, kind of a cool connection that the Russos did. I didn't catch it, and then we did catch, my wife and I did catch it in the reference, obviously, in
What if?
what's it called?
Agent Carter?
Agent Carter. I can't remember the name, the actual title of the show is. It kind of bothered me, the grammar of how they wrote the title, but nonetheless.
Secret Agent Carter, I think was one of that.
No, it's something Agent Carter win something. I don't know, just the way the grammar. What if Agent Carter were an Avenger, or were the first Avenger? And I was just like, it shouldn't be was, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, so we see these little nods to First Avenger, to the Captain America film. Now we're seeing Peggy in the bar where the him and the Howling Commandos make their team. In this case, it's Howard and Agent Carter meeting for the first time, or talking about the suit for the first time, and you've seen the vibranium shield with the Union Jack on it rather than the Stars and Stripes. Which, again, by the way, my mistake for all the time I made the references before, is Agent Carter is the canonical character is Captain Carter. It is not Captain Britain.
It's Captain Carter.
Though she does wear the British colors,
Yeah,
she is actually still an agent of the United States Army. And you notice that subtlety with the U.S. lapels on her army uniform.
There is an actual Captain Britain, and it's
something Braddock or something like that.
It was a Braddock, where before it was Psylocke for a little bit, and then but it was like it was weird because a Psylocke is technically a British woman inhabiting an Asian woman's body. Comics.
Interesting.
Right? So Braddock has a whole family lineage where they're British and they became. It's weird. Comics weird. All we know right now, all that's happening right now. Before was that Psylocke was once Captain Britain because the Braddock family name, inhabitants of whatever. Yeah, but there's an actual Captain Britain in the comic books.
I will say they really did kind of go right up against the line on this one with the language. They technically say shit in German, Scheiße. And they do, I think they said hell twice or something like that, but it was like they kept it really kind of almost
clean.
clean
Yeah,
GPG.
which
Which
I'd expect. Yeah, which I'd expect because like for a majority of the episode here, it felt very much like a Golden Age comic,
it
right?
did, and I think that goes all the way back to the, like I said, the animation after
Yeah,
the initial Marvel Studios kind of animation. We see Captain Britain, or rather, sorry, Captain Carter capture
that's one.
what's his name, the German, the
Hell,
Swiss doctor who was working
Helmuth?
for
No,
Red Skull. I can't think of his
I
name,
forgot. Yeah, I can't either.
but so they capture him. They get the Tesseract. Now this is,
Yeah.
I don't know. This
I-
is how it happened in the.
Nope. 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 Nope.
He does
Nope.
not
Nope.
get the Tesseract until the
It
end of the
was
movie.
yeah, it was very different in the essence of like just because we follow Steve doing the USO tours. And
Right.
just yeah to follow to kind of just follow up and then kind of piggyback backwards we there is a bunch of statements going to it's still the 1940s, right? And there has definitely been a lot of misogyny in that, and they do take note of that, like like you shouldn't got the thing, she's a woman, it's a failure regardless, a lot of stuff, right? And the one thing that I love that they made note of is that they took blood out of her, right? They never
Yes.
showed that with Steve, which I wish they should have,
Uh,
but you can't actually actively do that technically. I don't remember if they don't. I don't remember correctly if they did, but from my
I
knowledge, they didn't do it.
They thought they did because there's a similar scene to that
Yeah,
where they do say, he goes, I
yeah,
wanted an army,
yeah,
you gave me something else.
yeah.
But
It
no,
was just yeah.
a lot of violent death though, but it's
I got
cartoons.
yeah, I gotta say, man, like it's yeah, it's kind of yeah. Granted, it's punching Nazis, strong women punching Nazis and all that stuff. I'm like, it's still a lot of death in there. Yeah, I grant it wasn't as was it just as glorified as it was in the first Captain America? Because granted, we can looking back at it now with our 2021
Yeah.
with 2021 retrospective vision, as some of these deaths were pretty freaking gruesome when you really think about it. And granted, yeah, this is animation, you do a lot more with animation. I was happy to see them showcase what the super serum can possibly do, because freaking lifting up stopping a full-on charging bus slash vehicle with your shield and then flipping them over and having it explode was something technically Steve was capable of, but they never showed that on screen, right? So that's a cool thing to see. Seeing Peggy jump off certain heights to and throwing that freaking shield around like crazy, and then just constantly dismantling and destroying everybody. I'm like, damn. When she was against the your typical Nazi green hair, no blonde hair, green eye guy who was larger, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, like the allies must be desperate, setting a frown line, and then she freaking punches his knee inward.
Yeah,
That's
which I was
pretty
like,
that
whoa.
that's pretty graphic.
Even my
Yeah,
wife was like, ah, like as
yeah,
if it
right.
really happened.
Yeah, and
And
then yeah, hit him in the knee, and then talk him in the face like that.
that was when
Damn.
we were watching that scene when you mentioned about it, how it was drawn very golden age, and it was like a boom, and it was like right, it was like the frame of his face just going,
Yeah, the
oh, like just
pow and
got
the boom
pow,
and all that
was like
stuff, right?
right in your face, and it was like so. We
It's
now need
yeah.
to see what Howard Stark did with the Tesseract. He used it much like Tony does in the main Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Uses the power of palladium to create the original chess piece for Iron Man 1, which, of course, later down the road, the technology for the new arc reactor, the chess piece he gets at the end of Iron Man 2, the new element, so to speak. Of course, if you follow the yellow brick road in Iron Man 2, it has on the side of some of these crates where he finds the equipment, it says Project Pegasus. We were thinking, wait a minute, why does Project Pegasus sound familiar? Because it was the project that Carol Danvers, not Monica Rambeau, the mom.
Oh, Remy. No,
Uh,
no, I'm
you're
thinking
thinking of
Gambit.
Remy LeBeau.
Remy LeBeau. Yeah, I'm
Wrong
thinking
character.
Gambit.
But no,
Yeah,
Monica's mom, I can't think of her name. And of
yeah,
course, Marvell, which I can't think of her name, and she was the Air Force general.
yeah.
They were working on Project Pegasus. Well, I take that back. Carol, they didn't know they were working on Project Pegasus because It wasn't until that Carol came back to Earth when she was walking around with Samuel L. Jackson that she finds out that's what she was working on, which was a secret project using Tesseract technology. So here, fast forward, we mentioned Howard doesn't get the Tesseract until the end of the movie. He has it at the beginning of the movie, gets to harness it. You see him tinkering around with it. What can he do with it? Oh, I know. It has power. That's what the original plan behind Project Pegasus and something else was, to create clean energy instead of it becoming an actual Hydra weapon, which Johann Schmidt does not get to create. That's who I was thinking of, Johann Schmidt. So we do see that. You mentioned it too, JR. The actor who portrays Johann Schmidt, aka the Red Skull, is Ross Marquand, and you see him drawn a little bit closer to him. Now, he is also the actor who did the voice for Red Skull in both Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Reason being, he is known for doing a great Hugo Weaving impersonation. He actually does done it, I think, on like Comic-Cons and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did think this was. Oh no! Wait. I did think this was interesting that you see Peggy drinking alcohol, but I forgot Steve drinks alcohol in Captain America: First Avenger. He just can't get drunk.
Yeah.
We do see the theme of the dance obviously play out.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Hydra Stomper? Kind of a cross between the original Mark 1, the Ironmonger from Iron Man 1, and of course the idea that Steve can't walk, he's rehabbing, kind of a little War Machine in there. What would you think of Hydra Stomper?
It was, I'm pretty sure that was a deep cut as well, if I remember correctly. I just forgot where exactly that came from. I'm pretty sure it was from What If as well. But yeah, cool. I mean,
I believe there is a What If that they say Howard Stark created Iron Man. Yeah,
it's for me trying to just really just focus on the episode, right? Just be a fan of the episode. Cool. You had to have Steve do something in a sense, right? Because he's such a pivotal character in most of the realities that he has to have some semblance of input in there. And him being the Hydra Stomper, really worked out. I feel like for me, and I know it's gonna just jump from the end at this point, I feel like he should have been the one to sacrifice himself. Spoilers for those who haven't heard.
Well, we're getting to that point right now.
Yeah. I feel like he should have been the one to sacrifice himself, right, to do that. But like, I understand logically, how do you take a non-aging, I guess, Captain America. What's her name? Yeah, Captain. I forgot her name. Captain Carter. Yeah, just brain dead right now. It's weird, and not just do still in case for nights. And so, like, the differences in general, I did love that they did have some Howling Commandos back. I love that freaking Sebastian Stan was in it. That he did have some parts. He was great in it.
And it was great. They were just on the part where they're doing the bugs on a windshield move.
Yeah.
Where they what's it called? Zip line onto the train, and you see Bucky slide off, and he grabs it, and you hear Peggy. He's like, Peggy catches him, and Bucky goes, "Oh man, you almost ripped my arm off." And of course, it is the Winter Soldier arm. It is the left arm.
Yeah, which is hilarious to see. I was possibly thinking that, okay, what if they did this whole thing where maybe Steve's actually gonna be the Winter Soldier instead?
Yeah,
because I thought that was gonna happen because of what the scene of what that train scene portrayed is having. Granted, that didn't happen, but overall, it was fun to see the Howling Commandos back. The one thing that I gotta say, that did kind of irk me is that that it's, again, I gotta preface this, it's the World War II, 1942 ish, right, era.
It's well, no, the beginning of the movie starts in 1943, so it's assumed
1943
that it's 44 or 45.
Yeah,
because in the movie, Steve says, "I went into the ice in 45."
Yeah, so like it's near the end of World War II, and that they're already showing a lot of the derelict, horrific things they've done. Not just to men, but to women as well. There, right? Misogyny and all that stuff. really disrespecting the freaking Captain Carter, who's the strongest woman there, the strongest person there. One thing that kind of irked me, that I was hoping that they should have brought up in a different light, is that even though, yes, it's a fantasy show, a historical fantasy show, they did show one of the Howling Commandos. I think I don't remember correctly if the original Howling Commandos had an African American individual,
They
and
he did.
they
He goes. He says the one. Where'd you learn French? And he goes. And he talks about like more
was
women or something like that.
was he African American, or was he Native American? That's the
No,
thing.
there was both. There was two.
Okay.
There was a guy that looked. He was French, but he had a darker complexion. There was Dum Dum Dugan. There was a black guy, and there was an Asian guy. And I think there was another. I think there was 5 total. I'll look it up. I think there was 5 total Howling Commandos, not counting Bucky.
The thing that the point that I bring up before, because like the history buff for me is just fucking like always rearing his fucking ugly head by saying, well, guys, like we were there was no African American units commingling until Vietnam. Like that was one of the biggest racist things that's been talked about forever. Like there are squadrons of very fucking brave African American men that fought in World War II, never got fucking credit for it. They had to make movies to finally show the credit for it. And then the reason why is because it was still a bunch of segregation and a bunch of fucking racism still in America by not having non-segregated units of strong black African American men with everyone else. And that was, again, that's the history buff for me.
There is the Halloween. If you're watching the YouTube channel, that is the Halloween Commandos from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including Dum Dum Dugan. So you have 1, 2, counting Bucky, 3 white guys, an Asian guy. The guy who's next to Dum Dum Dugan, I can't think of his name, but he is I think he's a parishioner from Paris. You think he's a Frenchman, but he has a very darker, almost kind of like a little bit of a Middle Eastern, a little bit. And then of course there is a African American portrayal in the Howling Commandos, which, by the way, I absolutely I wish that they would have gotten a show, and maybe they might still, but the actors are getting obviously a little bit older.
Yeah,
but
I have no problem with that. Absolutely no. It's just more for me like, damn, I wish they would show like what Marvel has been doing currently with Captain America, and the Winter Soldier, right? Like what they have been portraying so far. I would think that at least they would make some hints of that. But granted, cool, it's gonna be just a TV show. It's just gonna be a cartoon show technically for kids at this point. So cool, but like it's cool not to shy away from history from that though. I'm just saying.
Going back to now the obviously in we've got a little catch up to do. How Steve sacrifices himself on the train. He finds out when he gets into the train that in the movie was trying to find Arnim Zola, and they do get him, but at the sacrifice they lose Bucky because one of the Hydra soldiers blasts Bucky, and he falls into the ice, and obviously he loses his arm. But remember too, when Steve finds Bucky in First Avenger, Bucky is already being experimented on, having not fallen from the train yet. He's already a little loopy. He comes back, he kind of shakes it off, but he finds him half dead in like a medical room in First Avenger. Then what's that?
It was
in like a little, and that's where he goes Bucky, and he goes over there, and that's when he also sees the map for the first time. He takes a quick glance at the map. He goes and grabs Bucky, and Bucky goes, what happened to you? And he's like, I joined the army. He goes, he's like, you look taller. And he goes, I am, or something like that. One of those lines.
That's right.
But he finds him like kind of half dead. Obviously, we know that. So he started working on him. They do the bugs in the windshield. He falls off the train. The Hydra finds him. Arnim Zola creates the stuff that we create with the Winter Soldier and yada yada yada.
Program. Yeah.
We don't see Bucky experimented on at all in this movie. Obviously, he doesn't fall off the train. We see Steve sacrifice himself. Train blows up. He's presumed dead.
Yeah.
All the other Howling Commandos, Captain Carter and Bucky, escape. So it's going like, I thought the same thing. Oh, is Steve going to be the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
So foreshadowing. We do see him now storming the castle, and there it is, C-15, which people think stands for Carter 15, which was the year Captain Agent Carter debuted on ABC in 2015. I think there's another C-15. I think was it Hunter. I think there's a Hunter C-15 or there's a from Loki and the TVA. So we see the Howling Commandos, Captain Carter, and Howard Stark storming this castle, which looked oddly familiar, like a Disney castle. And now in the movie, Johann Schmidt tries, as he says in Endgame, tries to possess the power of the Tesseract to hold an Infinity Stone in his hand. He thinks that at the beginning, he treats it like a weapon. He creates guns and cannons out of it. In this one, in the What If, he knows what he has. He knows it's a Infinity Stone. He knows it's a portal to the other side of the galaxy. So what does he do? It doesn't turn it into a weapon. He turns it into a portal. And that's where I was like, holy crap, this really has gone off the rails. This is what they talk about, a bird flaps his wings in the forest, and there's a hurricane halfway across. A butterfly flaps his wings. So if that butterfly doesn't flap its wings, there is no hurricane, and that maybe a parasite that would have washed away actually ends up doing more damage to whatever. I mean, there's so many different parables and what ifs in real life that we see this. That one moment where Peggy chose to stand by her man, and it also became a theme throughout this the show. That not only was she trying to do the bigger thing, but she's trying to do good for Steve. And I like the great line was Howard goes, I don't do the punchy thing, and he goes, every once in a while a button needs to be pushed. And when they storm the castle, who pushes the first button? Captain Carter. So I have no problem.
It was just the whole I'm looking from like an art perspective, and like not just art, but like just more so as a scene progression and how, like, damn, this is definitely a piece where people really want to work on this, right? Because for me, finally we have some semblance of like what action scenes that they really want to implement within the movies look like, where she's just destroying, wrecking everyone there, and there is no, everyone's is a dummy at this point, right? It's a fake dummy, whatever, right? They're non-living beings, and she's just completely wrecking every one of these Nazis, Hydra soldiers, whatever have you. And just for me, cinematography again was really great. Scene progression from her just running. I thought it was just hilarious for me that she ran side to side with a motorcycle, punched the guy off, took the motorcycle, jumped through a fence. I think this was the previous one. Jumped through a fence, and then just had this whole scene progress. And then the scene where they found the castle, where she was able to do nearly the same thing. She jump from the ground to a high point in the castle. Does the Captain Carter thing? Does the super soldier thing? Hits up the door, and it's just a straight transition into constant fighting, constant action, constant maneuver. For me, it felt very much in the same heart of the first Avengers movie, of Captain America, the first film. And it did feel very much like, Golden Age comics, punch a Nazi, save the world type of stuff. But damn, did it go Cthulhu at the end, bro?
Yes, as JR meant, something, by the way, going back a bit, Brian Braddock was Captain Britain. That's important because, like JR said, it went full Cthulhu. We actually get to see possibly a look at one of Marvel's greatest intergalactic villains of all time, a kind of Kraken style monster. This character, from what I understand, I believe was originally created by the King.
HP.
Was it King Kirby?
Nope.
Okay. Well, the character
they got it from H.P. Lovecraft.
The character is the Shumagorath. Not officially named, but that's what it is. By the way, too, the reason I mentioned Brian Braddock is not only do we see Captain Carter dressed in all the Union Jack with the Union Jack shield, she then finds a loose sword and brandishes the sword, which she needs to fight off the Shumagorath and chop up the limbs that are coming through this intergalactic portal. Now, the character I thought it was at first was the monster that we saw at the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. We see the Guardians fight on that platform that wants to come steal the batteries. The other, actually, initially when I saw the first few tentacles come through, I thought it was Hive, which is because we see Red Skull mentioned, or what's his name, Red Skull, aka Johann Schmidt. We see him say it is Hydra's grand champion. And I can't remember if it's in the comic, because I know for a fact in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Hive was Hydra's main champion, was almost the mascot of Hydra, of course, the tentacles and stuff like that. So we see Peggy sacrifice herself, not like Steve did with the plane crashing into the Great White North, but instead Captain Carter pushes the Shumagorath through this portal. Tesseract closes up. She's gone. So we go. I want to get your opinion though on our new kaiju, so to speak, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, here's the thing. The Shumagorath, actually, I'm just doing a little history thing. It was made in the first appearance of Shumagorath was in Doctor Strange, Master of these mystical arts, right? Made in 1973. I think no, his first appearance was his first mention, first nod, first I guess cameo appearance, and then actual first appearance, full appearance was all in 1973. And the writer for that is Steve Engelbert, Frank Bruner. The penciler is Frank Bruner again. The inker is Krusty Bunkers, Ermi Chen, colorist Corey Adams, and the editor for that was Roy Thomas, and letterer is John Costanza. So Shumagorath, it's very H.P. Lovecraft. I just gotta say, H.P. Lovecraft is an old school head, dark fantasy, dark sci-fi god. Where you see a lot of his references in everything. You see his references in DC. You see his references in Marvel, and Shumagorath is definitely one of those references. And for me, it's hard to say this because of how I need to have more context of how the hell Captain Carter beat a godlike being into a certain set, or at least came out of it alive.
Yeah,
because literally the next scene, of course, time jumped.
She loses the space stone for time and space.
She time jumped. We see that she is in a facility, or the portal opens up in a newer facility in a much more modern age day, and we then see Agent Fury and Hawkeye side to side. And then out of this portal, we see a bunch of freaking calamari everywhere, and we see Captain Carter, sword in hand, shield in hand, saying, "What the heck's going on? Where am I?" And then Fury is like, "Ma'am, please drop the sword. Miss, please drop the sword." And you have Hawkeye go, "That's Captain Carter."
Now, mind you, the space that she appears in is the Shield location at the beginning of the first Avengers, and of course delivers the line, instead of "please put down the spear, please put down the sword."
So I'm guessing for me, maybe just for her in that timeline, or wherever that pocket dimension what might have been, she was in there for a little bit, then the portal popped up again, and she just jumped out, right? And for her, it was instantly was a second, right? But for everyone else, it was 70 years, 70, 80 years.
Yeah. So Nick Fury says the war's been over for 70 years and says we won. Of course, it dawns on her that now Steve's most likely dead. And it fades into this post kind of not a post-credit scene like you think of, but it's kind of a punctuation point, kind of a back page moment where Uatu, the scene kind of comes out, and Uatu says, "I am the Watcher. I am the one who oversees all. I don't interfere." Blah 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 blah. And they're really hammering that point home in a lot of the leading up to What If is How much power does Uatu have? Does he get involved? Does any of the Watchers get involved? And in the comic books, they don't, but
except for one time,
and I believe it was Uatu.
and he died because of it.
And he
Spoiler
dies
alert.
because of course, that's of course in Original Sin. And which, by the way, that book, yeah, isn't it? It's Original Sin, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That book pretty much single-handedly created a lot of what's
Story.
going on in the main Marvel continuity easily the last 6 years plus.
Yeah.
And really is the anchor to a lot of, people will draw correlation to, I think there's been a handful of seismic events that have affected the current Marvel state. One of them is Secret Wars, hands down. The Secret Wars that was from about 10 plus years ago, not the one from the 80s with the black suit Spider-Man stuff. The actual Secret Wars event where the merging of multiverses. Civil War 1 obviously is huge. A lot of people will argue between House of M and Avengers versus X-Men. I've read both books. I think that House of M and Avengers versus House of M affected Avengers versus X-Men. Avengers X-Men affected why the X-Men didn't get involved immediately in Civil War. But I would say Civil War, Secret War, and Original Sin are probably some of the biggest event books that have affected to this day the current Marvel universe, the main Marvel. I want to say 616, but it's not entirely true.
I would probably say, it was Secret Wars. Never mind. The Cataclysm was Secret Wars. Where what was the actual term called when Earth 16 whatever was the
Battle World.
Battle was it Battle World?
Where they had the fights to become like who the main.
No, yeah, that one. But like it's more so the main Cataclysm for Secret Wars was that both realities were going into one and all the planets were just destroying each other.
That was the event that led to Secret Wars, where Reed Richards created the facility, the ship that could go up and affect the times or whatever. I was in the I never finished that series. I've always meant to go back and read it. I've got on my Marvel app. So across the board, first episode, I think it lived up to its hype. I think it lived up to what I was expecting out of it. And I was probably the most excited. If you go back to Hall H 2019, Loki definitely excited me because of the whole premise. He grabbed the Tesseract in Endgame. Where did he go? That idea of okay, that's an interesting take. We know Loki's dead. Obviously now he's wink not. Tell me this story. Falcon the Winter Soldier was exactly what it was. It's an extension of Captain America Winter Soldier, and this ended up being a fun, adventurous spy thriller, so to speak, espionage thriller. And then WandaVision was a groundbreaking, mind-blowing, mind-boggling a cinematic event that brought us Catherine Hahn, and that's all that needs to be said. But What If was like, okay, you are throwing I don't care to the wind, Marvel, and just saying this to What If to me was Kevin Feige. I got two middle fingers in the air, bitches. You can't say shit about me. I can do no wrong. I am King Kong's got nothing on me, basically. This was his moment to flex on us, and I think he nailed it right out of that bat. And I was really concerned about the animation style. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I kind of like it.
It's for me a good for the animation. It's a good line for that specifically because like you don't want to go too zany. At the same time, you kind of want to go semi-realistic, and so cell shaded artwork, I think will do well for this because like when they go do the crazier things, like let's say Guardians of the Galaxy episode where you're gonna see space and you're gonna see a lot of refracted colors and all that stuff, it's really gonna shine in that sense. For me,
okay, sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah, for me the ending was good. It's a good first entry into it. You have you have when you have one of the stars of the MCU really. I mean, I'm hoping that this is just the end for for Captain Carter. I really hope not. I hope that somewhere down the line might just throwing out there for me, theorizing for me that we're gonna get to this what if Avengers eventually is gonna happen, because you have in the same timeline you have freaking T'Challa somewhere in the universe. You have a bunch of other people somewhere in the universe. Maybe they're gonna fight off maybe this new MCU or maybe this new Marvel Avengers. What if are gonna fight against the zombie Avengers? What if stuff like that, right? Because it's an interesting to look at, because I definitely want to see, where's Steve? What happened to Bucky? Did these timelines coalesce semi relevant forms of their the mainline timeline? Yeah, fly in my room right now, so I'm throwing it away. Trying to swat it away. So like, yeah, I'm hoping that this isn't the end for for an awesome run of Captain Carter, because one, I love Haley Atwell as well. She's definitely my woman crush every year too.
Oh, I love
Everyone's
Haley
as well.
Atwell.
Yeah,
Freaking
she's
Tom
awesome.
Cruise got her.
They're not dating. They're not. They're not dating. They're not dating.
Yeah, they're
She's
secretly
actually
married.
no. She's actually from what I remember correctly, like the last couple weeks, she's been on and off with like a high school or for like a college romance thing. So hey, good for her though.
It's
She's cool.
secretly me.
Yeah,
I love
dude.
Haley Atwell. Since
She's awesome, bro.
I didn't know who she was,
Yeah.
but the moment I saw her portrayal Captain Carter, Agent Carter in First Avenger, I was instantly I was smitten. I love the British accent. I think she's a fabulous actress. I think that I will say this. I really, really like Haley's voice. I think she's got a very classic, if I can use the term, which I know she doesn't care for it in the character, she's got that old school dame kind of voice. She's got that 1942 British person voice. She has that timely persona down, and I just fell in love with her in First Avenger, and then was so excited when they got the spin-off show. I love it. My daughter loved it. My wife loved it. My son Jake really didn't get to experience it because of his young age. But that was like there's very few things that gets my daughter involved in Marvel, and at that point, she liked the original Guardians, but she really enjoyed Agent Carter because she was cool. Like she was not like she was it. She was the star of the show.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I think my son has really gravitated to the movie Luca, because you finally have a boy as the main character in a Disney kind of movie. I know there's other ones, but I'm just saying is that it just really spoke to him. Like I think Agent Carter spoke to my daughter, and we didn't show her all the episodes, but yeah, I think it's great. And I think that they've said that Captain Carter is going to be making more appearances, because there has been some screenshots of some of the trailers that shows her interacting with Doctor Strange, which we have not seen yet.
Oh man, that's gonna be interesting.
And I will say this: I'm looking at
it's mainline Doctor Strange.
I'm looking at the IMDb page for What If. They do have 2 seasons listed for this show already, much like they did with Loki. That they had it listed already. Now, I also want to point out that the list I was assuming was going to, I originally heard it was only going to be 6 episodes. Then I said, no, they're going to do 8. We're going to get 9 episodes. Obviously, the next one takes place next week. Then we get one on August 25th, September 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, 29th, and then the last episode is October 6th. So I was concerned. I'm like, oh my gosh, if they're only going to do the 6 to 8 episodes, we're going to have such a huge gap between What If and Hawkeye. But really, we're not. We're probably going to have the longest gap between shows. Well, yeah, how was it? 2 weeks between WandaVision and Falcon?
Something like that.
And then they make maybe about a month between Loki and Falcon.
And yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But
it felt like it. I feel like just for right now, the one of the great things that Disney is doing is their pacing, and so like not having to oversaturate with the
November
constant
4th.
streams. Yeah. So
Sorry.
so it's only been like it'll be like a couple of weeks. So it's again, it's nothing too crazy. I will say though, I think I'll try to get on for like I think sometime in September because again, I just let you guys know I'm definitely going. Book my flight, got my tickets to the Rose City Comic Con. Oh no, is he? You're
What?
good. I thought you froze again, and I thought everything was done
Nope.
because okay, cool. Because you did this for a second. You did like just stood still for
Sorry,
like
I was reading something on, and then I thought I was looking for news,
yeah.
and then when you said, "Oh my gosh," and I was like, "What? Where's it at?" I was getting ready. That's why I moved. I was getting ready to do
No.
like, is there
Oh,
some breaking news?
no, for those who know, man, like we've had some problems, man. Hopefully we figured it out. But yeah, again, like I've been saying, I will be gone in September. September was it the 10th? Yeah, the
Maybe we need
like
to have a. Maybe I should have a guest co-host.
do it, dude. Hey man.
I
Do
do
it.
know that we're
Sep-
efforting,
10 to
some
like
interviews.
yeah. Whatever is as I'll be gone from a Wednesday, no Thursday to the next Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool. But than
Don't
that,
forget, guys, when we were recording this on a Thursday night, where I'm hoping if you're listening to it right now, it's sometime between now and Saturday. If it is, go out and support your local comic book stores. The three main shops here in the Coachella Valley, Interstellar, Comic
Yep.
Asylum, and Desert Oasis Comics are
Yep.
all doing free comic book day celebrations. I don't know Interstellar's hours right now. I do know that that Comic Asylum is opening at 10 and going till 5. I believe Desert Oasis is opening at 11 and going to 5. They are going to cap it at 20 people max in Desert Oasis Comics. Mask and gloves are mandatory in Desert Oasis. Comic Asylum, it is Chick, I think, said that she is recommending that everybody wear a mask, but if you're fully vaccinated, you can feel free to go maskless. But at the same time, she's been one of those like, I really don't care, just don't be stupid kind of people. I can't speak for Steven and Interstellar, but I would assume because of the current mandates in the city of Palm Springs that you are 110% going to have to wear a mask to go into Interstellar. And please respect whether you believe it or not, just wear the damn mask because these proprietors, that's what makes them feel comfortable. And that's what we're all about in the comic book collecting industry and the comic book nerd industry is we are all about making each other feel comfortable because this group, this family, this society of collectors and nerds and geeks, we all identify as that. It's a badge of honor for us to be nerds and geeks. So wouldn't you want to, whether you agree physiologically or physioscience or physiopolitically, just be cool.
Yeah, just don't the guy like just think of it as this, man. If the owner of a shop tells you that hey, if you want to buy something or if you want to enter the store, you have to do certain mandates, just do it. All right, just do it. It's fine. It's not your shop. It's a probably owned shop. And so yeah, even though yes, we are technically the lifeblood to most of these companies, like bro, your life is not any more important than anyone else's. Let's be real. Right. So let's have a fun time during Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's give everyone their space, their proper needed space. Be safe. Don't be idiotic. Please, please don't be stupid.
Exactly.
And just have fun. Go out, support your local comic book shops, man, because they too are struggling. Support your local business as well. They too are struggling. They're trying to make out of it too. All right, you're not the only ones hurting. Everyone is fucking hurting.
Exactly. And as I close this up, I want to say this too. Subscribe to our social media accounts at PS Comics I Love You on Instagram and Facebook. PS Comics I Love the letter U on Twitter. PS Comics I Love You at gmail.com is our email address. A lot more interactions coming. I am going to put this out there. You may want to subscribe to those channels because we might do an impromptu live show from the asylum. I do know that our good friend Drew Yeager is going to be doing a art booth there, kind of they're calling it a drink and draw, but I doubt he's going to be drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock in the afternoon might be a different subject. I will say this: if you're going to go and you're going to get something from Yeager, help support a local artist and the dude likes beer. So if you want to work a little trade, I'm not exactly negotiating on behalf of Jaeger, but the guy's a soccer fan, and um,
He's a big LA. He's a
LA
big
Galaxy fan.
LA Galaxy fan.
He's a season ticket holder.
Yes, he is.
But if there is something when it comes to a libation that he enjoys, it is probably a good craft beer or something like that. So spoil him on behalf of us. And like I said, maybe we'll show up and do a live show or something like that on YouTube or one of the social media accounts. Yeah, find us on YouTube. If you're listening to this, it just search out Voice of Reason 23 or just type in PS Comics I Love You. You'll find your way to our YouTube channel. But
And for 1 second, for those who don't know, when is Free Comic Book Day,
Kevin?
Kevin?
It is August 14th, this Saturday. It's of course moved from its normal first Saturday in first Saturday in May. Obviously during the pandemic, and obviously California reopened in June. So yeah, they're doing it in August. So, but yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap things up here, and hopefully you guys enjoyed our take on What If. We will see you next week for episode 2. Of course, catch our main show, which usually drops sometime between Sunday and Tuesday morning. We haven't found an exact time yet. So, all right, guys, as always, be safe, be kind, and like we always say, peace.
Peace.